The Overwhelmed Brain Special Kids episode. Hey, that doesn't mean you adults have to leave. It just means that your kids will probably like this just as much as you do. Are you annoyed by accusations? Does it drive you crazy when your family is like, "Think honestly! I want you to say sorry for what you did. You know you did it. There's paint all over the carpet, paint on your hands, and paint on the ceiling. Now, I don't know how you got it on the ceiling, but I know it was you, so tell me the truth."
But I didn't do it, I swear. Why won't you believe me?
"There's pink paint on my white carpet, pink paint on your hands, and pink paint on the ceiling. The evidence is crystal clear. Now think honestly and just fess up so I can administer a life lesson you'll never forget."
I swear, I didn't do it.
Oh, you're a clever one. If you didn't do it, why is there paint on your hands?
I told you, after I finished my homework, I got up to get some rice milk from the fridge. The phone rang, and it was Uncle Bill asking for marriage advice again. I told him what to do, then I ran up and down the stairs for a little exercise. When I was done with my exercise, I opened the garage to get ready to clean it. All of a sudden, a horse ran into the garage and was about to knock over your table saw. I didn't want that to get damaged, so I grabbed a paint bucket and splattered it on him. Then he ran into the house and got paint everywhere. Then he shook it off, which is how it got on the ceiling. And shortly after, you walked in the door.
That was the biggest bunch of baloney I've ever heard. Not only are you gonna get grounded, but I'm also gonna make you mow the yard 3 times tomorrow. Next time, think honestly.
But...
No buts. Get upstairs and think about what you did.
But I didn't do anything.
Upstairs now.
I can't believe he didn't believe me. What a jerk. I wish there was a way to convince him. Oh, I'll be okay. I guess I'll just listen to a podcast or something.
Are you annoyed by affirmations? When you hear someone say, "Think positively," it's not really raining outside. It's only your observation that makes it so.
I could listen to this show all day long.
If affirmations feel like lies and positive thinking feels like you're in denial, then get ready to start creating the life you've always wanted now. Hello, this is Paul Coliani, host of The Overwhelmed Brain, the personal growth show for the critical thinker. On every episode, including this one, we'll talk about practical, down-to-earth steps to help you improve your mood and keep you sane in this powerful journey we call life. Like I said, this is a kids-only episode, so the adults, you can listen if you want. After all, you'll probably want to find out, what is he saying to my kids? But don't worry, I've heard from a lot of listeners that have kids that listen to the show with their kids. And it surprised me when I heard this because I didn't think that kids would be interested in a show like this. And if I was a kid and I tuned into this show, I would be like, this has nothing to do with video games or skateboarding, so I'm not listening. So it surprises me when I hear that kids listen. And just recently, I received 2 or 3 emails, but one in particular that came in and said, "Dear Paul, I am probably your youngest listener." And this person was in middle school. And she didn't say that my mom or dad forces me to listen to this. She just listens. And it surprised me. I mean, I was so taken aback when I received that message. And I've heard from other parents that say their kids listen along that I didn't know what to think. Because let me share something with you. When I first started this show, I said, all right, I'm going to talk to people that are just like me. Now, what does that mean? That doesn't mean only like me. It just means that in order to cater this information towards a certain audience, that I have to talk to that audience as if I know them well. And one of the ways to do that is to figure out who you're talking to. And who did I want to talk to most? I wanted to talk to people who were just like me. But it turns out that there's a lot of people just like me, which is fantastic. And I didn't realize that there were so many people out there that had a lot of similar qualities, that had a lot of similar background, and that could even relate to me. I mean, how many people do you relate to in your circle of friends and family? And, maybe that's a lot, but for me, it's not. It's not a lot of people. I don't relate to a lot of people that I meet. So I just think, okay, there's not a lot of people out there like me. And then I just go on with my life, making a few friends here and there, but no real close personal connections, no conversations that I can have that are, personal growth oriented or intellectual or philosophical, or talking with people that just kind of get it and know that they still have healing and growing to do, but they get it. And this is you, the person who's listening now, you get it. You may not get everything, just like I don't get everything, but you get it. You know there's something more that you need to do for yourself. You know that there's more to life than where you're at now. And if you don't know, you're learning that there's more. You're learning that, hey, this guy has a perspective that I'm not hearing anywhere else or in very few places. Just like I can relate to you as a listener of this show and say, wow, this person gets me. This person has a perspective that I appreciate. This person has an intellect that I can relate to, or an emotional intellect even that I can relate to. And so I started this show thinking, I want to talk to people like me because I enjoy relating to people like me. So when I get emails or when I talk to my coaching clients and they say that their kids listen too, I think, wait, what does this mean? What does this mean about me? Do I relate to kids? Because I wasn't catering the show to kids. Because when I talk about stuff, I talk about things that you do, like have a career and have a marriage and things that happen when you turn into an adult. So how can kids relate to that? Again, my mind was blown when I found out that kids actually listen to this show. So a few episodes back, I'm thinking, what if I made a kids-only episode? Would it be any different than what I do now? Maybe not. I mean, if kids already listen, they must be getting something from it. So my point is with who I cater to, who I talk to when I first started the show, is that I wanted to find people that were like me. So one of the things that I realized is that the kid in me relates to the kid in you. And the kid in me relates to you, if you're a kid listening now, it relates to you. The kid in me relates to you. I get it. I get it because a lot of the stuff that I talk about happened in my childhood. A lot of the stuff that I have to heal from happened in my childhood. A lot of the stuff that you're going through now I'm talking to you if you're a kid, a lot of the stuff that you're going through now, I talk about. And I had some painful stuff that I had to go through. And there were challenges that I had to get over. And maybe those challenges are what you're going through now. And if so, I can relate. And another thing, I got through it. And so can you. And I want you to keep this in mind because as this show goes along today, I'm going to share some stories about my childhood and some things that I've never shared anywhere else. Not outside my own personal, intimate relationships, not outside my family. Because I want to share it with you. Because when I do that, it allows me to find what I call empowerment inside of me. When I share things that might be a little embarrassing to me, when I share things that might be a bit of vulnerable for me to share, it helps me get it out of my system. I want you to think about that. Have you ever been angry with someone? Or has someone ever made you really upset and you just wanted to hit something or yell and scream or cry? I've been there. And you know what? That doesn't change. As you grow older, that still happens. But what's important for you to understand is that it's okay to express that stuff and just let it out. But sometimes the adults around us don't understand what we're going through. Sometimes the adults around you will go, "Why are you crying? Why are you screaming? What's wrong with you?" They'll say things like, "What's wrong with you?" And there's nothing wrong with you, I promise. There's nothing wrong with you. Sometimes you just have to let it out. And you know what? If the adults don't understand, then, put yourself behind a closed door and put your face in a pillow and just scream as loud as you can and then punch that pillow. Because life can be challenging. And other kids, quite frankly, and the adults are going to have to get used to this as I talk to you, because I'm going to say things that maybe some adults around you won't say or don't want you to hear. Maybe not. I might be wrong. I think that the people who listen to this show are pretty advanced and evolved, so you're probably already in a somewhat good situation. But sometimes I'm going to say things that an adult might say, "Well, he shouldn't say that to my kid." So what I'm going to say here is that sometimes life can be hard. Other kids can be cruel. Some adults in your life can be cruel. You know what that word cruel means? Let me tell you what it means. It means if someone's being cruel to you, they're in pain of some sort. If I'm being cruel to you, then I must feel painful, because people aren't born cruel. The person who is cruel to you or mean isn't born that way. They're born, you've seen babies, right? They're born just kind of looking around, smiling sometimes, or they smell something funny and their nose curls, or, they make faces, but they're just kind of experiencing the world. Like, what's next? What's that? What's that noise? And then their eyes go wide and they get surprised by something, and then they'll laugh. That's how we're all born. We're not born mean. We're not born cruel. But what happens is that the people around us start teaching us things, and we learn things really fast. As a kid, you're a fast learner. You learn fast. And even if you're not doing very good in school or anything, it doesn't matter, because you still learn fast. And the reason I know this is because of something all of us learn in life, is that when you touch a hot stove, you don't want to touch it again. Now, how many times does it take for you to touch that hot stove and you go, "Ow, that hurt so bad, I never want to touch it again"? It doesn't take much at all. Your brain learns so fast, especially as a kid. Kids' brains learn faster than adult brains. Adults cannot keep up with you. It's true. We cannot keep up with you. If you hand an adult a computer, they're going to look at the screen and try to figure out where they are. They're going to move the mouse left and right. Or if it's like a tablet or an iPad, they're going to tap on something and then they're going to be like, where am I? Where did I go? Where if you handed a kid a computer or a laptop or a tablet or whatever, a phone, an iPhone, they're going to tap here, tap there. They're going to be downloading software. They're going to be listening to podcasts. They're going to have all the games they want loaded up, and they're going to be chatting with their friends, and suddenly they're on FaceTime and video chat, and the adult is still going, how do I get my email? Now, if you're an adult listening to this, I'm an adult too. So if you're offended by something I say, like, "What? I'm a computer professional. That wouldn't happen to me." Hey, I don't mean any offense. So just bear with me through this episode. So anyway, the reason I'm creating this show for the kids is because of some of the emails I received, and also to let you know if you're a kid, I want to let you know that I get it. I get where you're at. I get your struggles. I get what you're going through. I get it. If you think that no one understands you, I understand you. If you think that no one knows your pain, no one knows your heartbreak, no one knows how hard it is for you, or you think no one understands you, I do. And if you think I don't understand you, then you probably wouldn't be listening, first of all. But I'm going to share with you some of the stories of my childhood, like I said, and I'm going to be vulnerable with you. Now, what does that mean? Vulnerable means that I'm telling you the hardest things that I wouldn't share with anyone else unless I trusted them. That's kind of like having someone in your life that you can tell anything to, and they won't yell at you, they won't get upset with you, they'll just listen, and they'll support you, and they won't tell you what you need to do unless you ask them. When you can find that safe person to talk to, where you know that you'll be supported no matter what you tell them, even if it's really bad news. You know what I'm talking about. That really bad news you don't want to tell anyone. When you can find someone to tell, that is powerful. That lets you feel safe, so that when you grow up and you graduate school or get into a relationship or go to college or whatever you plan on doing, that you will have learned to express yourself so that you don't bottle this stuff up like a lot of us adults do. Have you ever seen an adult around you, or anyone older than you really, that just seems upset sometimes for no good reason? Like, why are you so upset? And you know why that happens? Is because, or a lot of the times, it's because as children, we didn't feel safe enough to express ourselves. For example, in my life, I thought, oh no, if I tell my mom that I broke this window, I'm going to get a spanking. I'm going to get killed. I just thought I thought she was going to kill me because I didn't know any better. I didn't know what was going to happen. I mean, that's what happens as kids, right? You do something and you go, oh, what's the word? Snap. Oh, snap. Do you kids say that anymore, or am I dating myself here? So you go, oh no, I did this thing, or I'm in trouble. I can't tell anyone. I'm going to lie. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to lie. And then you learn how to lie at a young age, and then you start doing that when you're older, and you get into big trouble because people don't like you when you're a liar, and people don't like you when you're trying to deceive them. You know, us adults, we learn all these things as kids, and then we take these things that we learned into, our jobs, into our relationships, and we think that that kind of stuff still works. I guarantee you what happens is that when you lie a lot or don't tell the truth a lot as a kid, and you take that with you as you grow up, life gets so hard. It really does. So I'm not going to tell you what to do in this episode. I'm not going to say, you need to tell the truth. I won't tell you any of that. That's up to you. That's up to you to reach inside yourself and ask yourself, is this the right thing to do? What is the right thing to do? I mean, even as a kid, you know the right thing to do. You really do. Even if you're going, I don't know what to do. You know what's right. And sometimes, I won't lie. Sometimes you'll do the right thing and you'll still get in trouble. And it sucks. I'm sorry to say, I have to say that word. They're using it in school. I'm going to say that word. So if you're an adult listening and you're trying to block your kids' ears, don't worry. They hear it more often than you think. It sucks. It really does. Because you think you're doing the right thing and you still get in trouble. What's that about? Well, I'll tell you what it's about. It's about us adults that don't understand everything that happens in a kid's world because it's been so long since we were kids. And so we'll say things that hurt you. We'll do things that hurt you. And we don't always mean it. So I want you to stick around through this episode because there's a lot to share, there's a lot to talk about, and I really want to connect with you and tell you what I tell all the adults every week that listen to this show, that I'm going to help you bridge the gap between your emotions and reason. And I'm going to cause you to discover why you do the things you do and what you can do to reach higher levels of happiness and lower levels of stress and overwhelm. And if you're a kid, you know what stress is. I know you do. You know what overwhelm is, because this whole world is still pretty darn new to you. It's still new in the sense that you're learning things for the first time, where us adults think that we have it all down. We know how to drive a car, so now we know the world. It's not as easy as some of us think, and all the stuff I've learned and all the pain from the past that I've had and I've healed from, I still have a long way to go. And I'm 46 years old, but there's people that are 20 or 30 years older than me that haven't even begun to get through some of the stuff that I teach in this show. And I hope they're listening too, because it's never too late to begin. And for you kids, it's never too early to begin. So let me just say this before we go into our first segment. If you're here to learn more common sense tips for improving your life, you're in the wrong place. But that's okay. I won't hold it against you because I'm willing to bet that you don't tune in for common sense. Good. That's what I want. No common sense. I think you should have common sense, yes, but you develop that over time. You figure things out. Your hand touches the stove once and boom, suddenly you have common sense. But it happened after your hand touches the stove. And it has to happen like that sometimes. You have to make mistakes. So just know that this is the direct path to uncommon sense. And that's why it's going to help you learn, heal, grow, and evolve. How would you like to do that? Let's start the show. I'll be right back and I'll start sharing some stuff after this. All right, welcome back. It's the kids-only episode of The Overwhelmed Brain, because as we all know, kids get overwhelmed brains too. In fact, how many tools and resources do you have as a kid? What I mean by that is, if someone upsets you, do you know exactly what to say back? Do you know exactly what to do? Do you know how to even think? Or do you just think you're being attacked and you just have whatever comes out of you comes out? Like, you're either going to throw punches, I hope not, but sometimes you get so upset that you just kind of start swinging your arms, or you're going to run, or you're going to cry. There's all kinds of things that you can do in a moment when someone else upsets you. And it's usually at school, isn't it? It's usually when you're around other kids that have all these different types of personalities, and each one of them is being raised by parents or caretakers that have their own personalities. And if you sit back and think about all the different personalities that come together in one building like a school, it's got to blow your mind to think that anyone gets along with anyone. I mean, think about it. I went to school with bullies, jocks, the smart kids, skateboarders, gearheads. Those were the mechanical kids that could fix motorcycles and fix cars. I mean, that was when I was older in school, but when I was younger, there were all kinds of kids. And I felt like I was somewhere in the middle of all of them. I felt like I didn't fit in with any of them. And in fact, it wasn't until 8th grade that I started fitting in with someone. I started fitting in with a group of people. And that's when I started skateboarding. I was like, okay, I picked up a skateboard, and then suddenly I started getting to know the skateboarders of the school. And this is what happens when you're in school. You get into some sort of hobby or sport or recreational activity of some sort, and you get to know other people that are doing that in the school. And then hopefully and typically you do get along because you're all like-minded and you're having fun the same way, or you're enjoying something the same way. And it feels good because now you have people that relate to you. That's what we were talking about earlier. Somebody who can relate to. Who can I relate to in my school? Who can I relate to in my family? When you find those people that you can relate to so that you can just feel comfortable around them, that's when things start changing little by little, because now you have someone that you feel safe with. Now you have a friend, even in your family. Now you have a friend that you can talk to and share what's going on in your life. I mean, you could do that with anyone, of course, as long as you feel safe with them. But you got to find that safe person. And a lot of the times you find that safe person at home. A lot of the times it's your mom or dad or older brother or sister or someone that's taking care of you. You find that someone. But sometimes it's not. Sometimes you're living with people that you don't feel safe with. And when that happens, where do you turn? I mean, you can have friends and you can talk with them at school or on the phone or through the computer. But what if you need something from someone that's older than you? What if you need someone that has more resources than you, more tools than you, or more money than you? Where do you go? And what if you don't trust the people around you? Hopefully you do. Hopefully I'm not talking to you right now. But there are kids out there that are in situations where they don't feel safe. I was in a situation like that. I grew up with a stepfather that drank alcohol every day. And he would get drunk. And at night he would pass out. And the family, including me, would wait for him to pass out. That was what we were looking forward to. Let's just wait until he passes out, because we didn't like him when he was drunk. We loved him as I loved him as a stepfather, and my sister and my brother loved him as a father, but we liked him more when he wasn't drinking. Now, drinking in itself isn't a problem. Some adults drink. Some adults drink alcohol. And not all of them, but some do. And some drink to just enjoy a drink. When you get old enough, at one point in your life, after 21, I hope you can wait this long, after 21, and you can enjoy an alcoholic drink. The problem starts when you have another drink, and another drink, and another drink. When the adults around you have drink after drink after drink, then you don't know what to expect, because it's like their brain changes. It's like they take out this one brain that they had and put a different brain in. And it's like, who is this person? Who is this person that's acting ridiculous or scary or silly? Who is this person? And if you're in a situation like that, you need to find a place to be safe. You need to find a place to feel safe. You need to find people that you feel safe with, if you can. I'm not talking to all the kids, because a lot of kids don't have this situation, but some kids do. And maybe you know them at school. Maybe it's you, I don't know. But I really want to address stuff like this, because this kind of stuff you don't really talk about a lot. Or at least we didn't in our family, because we were in it. We didn't talk about other kids' families like, so-and-so's dad's a real alcoholic, and he drinks all the time, and he smashes his glass, because that was happening to us. We had an alcoholic father in the house, and we had to be very careful who we were around him. And it was scary. I will say that. It was very scary. And you know what? I made it through. And, I'm telling you these stories not to put any fear in you, but to tell you that sometimes you're going to go through, sorry to say, crap like this, and you're going to make it through. You will. You'll make it through. And it's going to seem like you're not going to make it through. And because you haven't had enough experience in life yet, there's going to be a lot of stuff that happens to you that's going to seem like you're not going to make it through. Like, I'm never going to survive this. So you're going to start crying, or you're going to start acting out, or you're going to start rebelling against what your parents tell you to do. Like, you need to do this. And you're going to be like, I'm not doing that. Hopefully you don't do that. I don't want you to do that because you're going to make it through. You're going to be fine. You just have to remember that sometimes as we get older, some adults don't know how to handle the problems in life. Like right now, you're a kid listening to this show and you're going, you know what? I want to learn things that help me in life. I want to learn how to deal with other people in life. I want to learn how to relate to people. I want to learn how to relate to myself. I want to learn how to get along in life and not be so emotionally challenged all the time. Not feel like I'm out of control all the time. Not feel like there's nothing I can do all the time. Because when you're in that situation, it's really hard to have a positive perspective of everything going on around you, especially when you don't have a lot of support from some people in your life. Again, I hope you do. I hope you have support from the closest people in your life. But if you don't, find someone. Find someone that you trust and you can share things with. Even if that's the school principal or your teacher or your best friend's parents or someone that you can feel safe with. I hope it's your mom and dad or your big brother, your big sister, or anyone that's taking care of you. Because if you keep it in, then it turns into things as you grow up. It turns into things you don't want in your life. And then you become someone that you didn't like when you were younger. Let me explain that. When you see adults around you acting like in a way that you don't like, you can become that. If you hold anger or sadness or anything that you feel that you don't like inside of you, if you hold that in, you can feel it in your chest and it doesn't feel very good. Or you can feel it in your stomach and it doesn't feel very good. And you just want to burst out and say something or express yourself. If you hold that in and don't release it, then you carry it with you into the world and it changes you because you keep holding it and holding it and holding it. So I want you to be able to find that person that you feel safe expressing to, because expression is important. You know what expression is, right? It's just telling somebody what's on your mind, telling somebody what's bothering you, and find someone that you feel safe expressing that to. And if you can't find anyone, write to me. Write me an email, paul@theoverwhelmedbrain.com. I can't answer right away. I get a lot of emails, but at least you can get it out of your body. You can express what's inside and get it out. That's if you can't find anyone around you, because I want you to find someone that's close, that you can talk to on a regular basis if possible. But if you really feel stuck and you have no one else to share it with, then write to me. It might take me a month or two to answer, but I promise I will read it. It gives you a chance to release something that you might be holding on to. That's what I want. This stuff that we hold on to really wears us down. It takes our energy away. It makes us tired. It makes us do things that we don't want to do or say things that we don't want to say. It gets us angry. You don't want to keep that stuff inside. One of the things that I held inside for a long time was when my stepfather cleaned the house. Now, that doesn't sound so bad. He cleaned the house. The problem was, if any of our toys were left out as he was cleaning the house, he threw them away. Gone. I could have a toy that I loved playing with, and the next day I couldn't find it again. And I'm like, where's my toy? And then I looked in one of the chests in the basement, and where some of the toys were. And all the toys were gone. And I was like, where's the toys? Where are all the toys? I don't know what happened here. And I would get sad. And, of course, I didn't want to say anything like, why did you throw away my toys? Because if I talked with him, he would get angry. And I didn't like him when he was angry. I didn't like to be around him when he was angry, because usually when he was angry, he was drunk. And I hope you don't have to deal with that. But if you do, you might know what I mean. So I would hold it in. And maybe I would tell my mom, but it would still hurt, inside. What do I do with this hurt? I didn't know how to express myself back then. So I just held it in. And that's kind of dangerous. We don't want to hold that stuff in. We want to express it to someone that we feel safe with. That's why it's important to find someone that you feel safe with, hopefully in your family. But let me move on from that and tell you some of the other things that happened that were challenges in my life that I know you're going to relate to in some way. And if you can't relate to, just get an idea of what it might be like for me to have gone through this, or someone that you know, another kid, maybe in your class or someone or in your family or in your neighborhood, someone that you know might be going through this very thing. For example, I once had a big old mole on the back of my neck. You know what a mole is? It's like a brown bump. I mean, it can be different colors, but mine was a big brown bump. To me, it was an ugly brown thing. And I hated it, actually. I didn't like it. I hated it. And I was so embarrassed by it. It was just sticking out on the back of my neck. I mean, you've seen moles on people. It's normal. I mean, I can look at it now and go, that's perfectly normal. I have a lot of moles on my body now. But this one mole on the back of my neck bothered me so bad. So I grew my hair long to cover it so that no one would see it. I was so embarrassed because people would comment on it. And, not everyone commented on it, but some of the people who saw it would say something about it. What is that? And then I would get self-conscious. Like, what? What are you looking at? What's that big brown thing on the back of your neck? I mean, just the way they asked wasn't nice at all. So I felt like I was already being accused of something. Like, what did I do wrong? What's that big ugly brown thing? That looks stupid. I forget what they said, but it was something like that. I felt stupid. I felt like there was nothing I could do about it. It was out of my control. It grew on my body. I don't know how to control that. And so I grew my hair, and it grew over the mole. And I had a hard time in school until I grew my hair where I didn't have to think about it anymore. And that was a relief. It was a relief not having to think about that mole. So I just covered it with my hair. And then when I turned, 20, and then I finally went to a dermatologist, and they said they could remove the mole. I was like, really? And they said yes. And then they sprayed something on it, which froze it, and then they cut it off. And then they had to test it for cancer and things like that. But the day after, I had a Band-Aid on my neck for about a week, but the day after, I got all my hair cut. I went from long hair, almost down to my shoulders, to hair as short as the bottom of my ears. That was it. I cut all my hair off, and it was liberating. It was freeing. I loved it. But I still felt this self-conscious thing inside of me. Even though the mole was gone, it still felt like there was something there that was what I call unresolved. There's some unresolved emotion there, like fear that someone would see my mole. Yet that was the least of the challenges in my life. Maybe you're going through something like this, where some kid notices something on you, and they ask you about it. What is that? What is that on your arm? What is that on your face? They'll say something, and it just sounds mean when they say it. What's growing there? Why is there hair on your lip? Or what's wrong with your ears? Or they'll say other things about your appearance. Like, you're fat, or you're so skinny, or your clothes are ugly. They'll just say all kinds of things, but you can hear the attitude every time. You can hear the inflection of my voice when I say it. Like, who did that to you? What's wrong with you? When you hear that, it sounds awful. Even now, when you grow up, when somebody says that to you and the boss comes out of the office and goes, what's wrong with you? Why did you do it this way? And then you feel like, oh my God, I'm in trouble. What did I do? What did I do? And so it's like, how do you get beyond the feeling that you get when someone says that to you? So, what's my advice for you? If you ever had someone come up to you and said, what is that? Or what's wrong with you? There's a place I want you to get inside that has to do with self-confidence, self-worth, and self-esteem. So here's what I want you to do. This is going to be a little unusual, and you'll understand why in a minute, but how do you feel and what do you say when someone says something like that? Like, what's wrong with you? Or you're so ugly, or whatever they say. Anything that sounds mean. You know what sounds mean, right? It's that inflection in their voice. What's wrong with you? Whenever someone says something like that, the best way to respond, first of all, is to ignore. Okay, I don't know what that guy's problem is, or I don't know what that girl's problem is, but they apparently can't handle what they see. Maybe they're just not that smart. I mean, you laugh inside your head. The first reaction should be a laugh. Like, whatever. They must not be that smart if they don't know what's wrong with me. Or if they say something, a little bit harsh, like, you're ugly, or you're fat, or what's that big brown thing on your face or on your arm, or why are your clothes ugly, or what are you wearing? What I want you to do is, and this is going to be strange, thank them. Because they're not expecting it. And the idea behind this is when kids say things about you, especially to your face, they're looking for a reaction because what that reaction does for them is it makes them feel powerful. Because this is what it's all about. This is a bullying behavior. Even if they're not a bully, but they're just acting kind of, well, the word is childish. If someone acts childish around you and they're saying things to be mean, it's usually to get a response from you so that they feel good about themselves. If I can make you feel bad in some way, then I feel good about me. And that's all that matters to me. So think about that. So if somebody comes up to you and says, you're ugly, or whatever the words are, they're trying to make themselves feel better. So my first step to that is to say, thanks for your opinion. And that's it. Now, this will throw them off typically because they won't know what to do with that. They're so used to kids reacting in a negative way. Because what's your first inclination? Your first inclination is to go, shut up, or, oh, that hurt, and you walk away and you put your head down and you feel embarrassed or sad. Your first inclination is always some sort of reaction. But being prepared for this kind of thing, for someone's mean words, helps you react in the way that you want to react, not in the way they want you to react. So just practice this with me. Ready? And this may not feel good when I say it, but what I want you to do is say in return, thanks for your opinion. Are you ready? Here it is. Your haircut is stupid. Did you respond right? Did you say, thanks for your opinion? Because that's really all it is, right? It's my opinion. If I think your haircut is stupid, which I don't, but if some kid came up to you, or anyone came up to you, and said anything about you was bad, or stupid, or not favorable to them, for any reason, just say, oh, thanks for your opinion. Now, here's the second part, because this can happen, is that the person who's saying something mean might follow it up and say something even meaner, or just continue to try to get a response from you. This is what it's all about. They're trying to get a response from you. So what's your next step? So they might say, that haircut is stupid. And you go, what? I'm going to let you fill in that blank. Thanks for your opinion. And then they go, it's not my opinion, it's fact. Now, how does that feel? That's not fun, right? But that's what they're going to say. You know it. You know that somebody's going to say that. And then what do you say to that? Just stay matter of fact. Just stay in that calm place, even though you might be a little emotionally triggered inside, like, oh, that's kind of mean, that hurts. But the way you respond is the way they'll respond in favor. So, oh, it's not opinion, that's fact. You can say something a little bit more unusual. You might be right. I know they're not right. You know they're not right. But saying you might be right, it squashes the energy behind what they're trying to do. Now, if you're an adult listening to this and you're saying, what? Aren't they supposed to honor their personal boundaries? Shouldn't you tell kids to stand up for themselves? I'm fully in support of that. if you want to stand up for yourself and say, hey, back off. I don't care what you think of my haircut. I'm pretty darn proud of it. So back off. You can do that, but when you're a kid, the world is a different place. It really is. And you remember being a kid, right? And if you're a kid, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the adults now. You remember being a kid where what you think might work doesn't always work. But when we get older, things work differently. So this is one of those times where, yes, I want you to honor your boundaries, but sometimes it takes a buildup, especially when you're a kid. It takes a buildup to get to a point where someone's going to listen to you and respect you enough to honor your boundaries. So sometimes you have to play their game to get them off your back. So the first thing is, well, thanks for your opinion. And then your second answer is, if they keep, trying to pull a reaction from you, is, you might be right. Now, what does that do? I mean, let's try it. Ready? Your haircut is stupid. And if you're following along, you know what to say. It's not my opinion, it's fact. Now, did you say, you might be right? Now, what happens to me? How do I respond to that? If I'm the bully person here, if you said, you might be right. And I go, well, yeah, I'm right. And then I'm kind of surprised because I don't know what to do with your response. But at this point, I'm either going to back off or continue haranguing or harassing you to the point where you finally lose it. Because that's what some kids do. They'll continue trying to get a reaction from you. And, sometimes you just have to walk away and think about something else, move along, or go tell someone, this guy won't get off my back. Will you please get him off my back? But the whole idea that I want to convey to you is that there's a certain negative energy that somebody is pushing at you, and they want you to respond in a negative way. Because when you do, it gives them power, and then it exacerbates or amplifies the situation. And the worse it gets, the better they feel. And we don't want them to feel better. If they're being mean, we don't want them to feel better. We just want them to go away. So how do we make them go away? We show them that they don't have power over us. Imagine that. Someone comes up to you and they don't have power over us because of how we respond. How do you respond? Thanks for your opinion. You might be right. Again, I know they're not right, but you're saying that to squash the energy of that situation, to just let it dissolve right then and there. I'm pretty sure most of the time this will work. Sometimes other kids can be relentless, and they will keep trying and trying and trying until they find your breaking point. And it may get to a point where you have to reach out to someone else and say, look, this kid won't leave me alone. Can you help? There might be that point. Now, did I do this exercise when I was a kid? No, because it took me about 30 years to figure it out. So I'm telling you now so that you'll have some tools in your tool belt. So when you go to school or when you go to gatherings or anywhere you go, the idea is to not let them continue having power over you where they're trying to get a reaction. Because if they get a reaction from you, like, shut up, if that's your reaction, then they win. And they'll do that again and again, and they'll continue, and they'll come back. So that's where I want you to go with that. Let's go into our next segment where I share another story from my past and maybe something that you can relate to and how maybe you can get through that too. We'll be right back. When I was in 6th grade, I think, I moved down to North Carolina. And I was coming from Massachusetts. And at the time, I had a real Massachusetts accent. And what does that mean? If you're from Mass, you probably know what I mean. And if you know people from Massachusetts, You know exactly what I mean. Because they'll say, hey, Marty, park the car in the garage. Hey, we're going up to Bar Harbor for the weekend. I don't mean to make fun of Massachusetts accents because I was born with it. I was born into it, and I grew up with people with that accent. So I developed that accent. So then I moved down to North Carolina. And in North Carolina, they overpronounce their R's. So I remember my first day of school, and all the kids were making fun of me. They were making fun of how I talked. And they would say, hey, say the word C-A-R. I would go, car. Car. And they would laugh. And I mean, they were just cracking up. I'd be like, what? What am I doing wrong? Say P-A-R-K. Park. And again, they would laugh. Now, I can laugh about this now. But at the time, it was very traumatic. I didn't know what they were laughing at. And I just felt like I was being put down, and I felt a little shame. I was like, oh my God, I can't show my face in this school because they just laugh at how I talk. And so what I did every night was go home and practice pronouncing my R's. I would go R, R, park, and I would over pronounce my R's. And that really started developing a new accent for me. And then soon, I mean, it only took a few weeks. Soon I was talking like them, and then I felt like I fit in. And that was hard, but I felt like I found a solution. Now, you shouldn't have to change who you are to fit in. You shouldn't. You shouldn't have to be like everyone else because, you know what? Being an individual and expressing yourself individually is a great place to be. And had I known that, I might not have done that when I was in 6th grade. But, you know, I was a kid. I didn't have the worldly knowledge that I have today. I joke about that, but you know what I mean. You learn these things over time. Like, well, what should I have done? How should I have responded? But, you know, at the same time, it was okay. I learned something new. I learned that the South talks differently than the North. And then, you know, when I grew up, I lived all over the country. And I found out how all kinds of people talked. In Oregon. And of course, when I went to Oregon, I used to call it Oregon. And they don't like that. And they would say, no, like an internal, like your body has organs, like your heart and your lungs. I was like, organs? Yes, organ. Oh, organ. Oh, okay, Oregon. Got it. So I learned how to pronounce that. When I moved to California, I got used to their accent, and that's a mishmash of people over there, so it wasn't much. But moving to Texas, that was different. A lot of Southerners down there. Moving to Florida, it was a kind of a mishmash as well. But all these places that I moved to, even Ohio, and I didn't really live in the mid states, but all around the perimeter of the United States, I just learned all these accents. So I learned sort of to talk like them. And I will say it did help. I don't recommend that you change for other people. I don't want you to change. I want you to be yourself. But if you want to try something new, and you want to learn something new, like I learned how to pronounce my R's, just to see how it is, just to check it out, just to experience it, then you can. You don't have to, and you are certainly entitled to be who you are, and I want you to be who you are. But don't not do something just because everyone else is doing it. What I mean is, if you're with the blue shoe club and everyone is wearing blue shoes and you don't want to wear blue shoes, then unless it's required by the school or some organization, then, you know, it's okay to be individual and maybe even get made fun of, like, you're not wearing blue shoes. And then you can go, that's right. I don't wear blue shoes like you. I mean, don't respond that way, but you know what I mean. It's like, I don't have to wear blue shoes. but we all wear blue shoes. You should wear blue shoes too. I don't want to. I like these shoes. Well, those shoes are ugly. You remember how to respond? That's not my opinion. It's a fact. Oh, well, I'll just back off now because I have nothing else to say. So that was a challenge in my life. I moved to North Carolina. They were pronouncing things a little different, well, a lot differently, and I learned how to talk differently. And, I look back at that and go, oh, maybe I should have honored myself and not changed me. But, sometimes we change things about ourselves and life does get better. Not because we fit in, but because we learned something new. So there's nothing wrong with trying new things, even if it means that you'll fit in better. Like, you don't have to necessarily fit in because you can still be an individual, but sometimes it's neat to see what happens when you try something new. So don't let that stop you if you feel like, I don't want to do that because everyone else is doing it, because sometimes what other people are doing might be something you want to try out. But around that time of 6th or 7th grade, I think it was 6th grade, I went to a school that was all one race, or 98% one race. I'm white, and I was in a school that was 98% African American. And as a kid, I had never been around African American people. I was in New England. Very, very few African American people. And I went to a school that I was one of the few people that stood out because I was a different color. And it's kind of the reverse of what has happened in my life, where I would be in an all-white school and there would be 1 or 2 African American kids. But I never thought about it. I never thought to myself, hey, look, a black kid. I never thought that stuff. But when it was reversed, when I was the white kid in the school, I felt like everyone was looking at me. I felt like an alien in a strange land. And I was afraid because there was no one, quote, like me. And I never thought about it until I was in that situation. Because when I was in my other schools, I never thought what it might be for them to be in an all-white school. How does it feel for them? I never thought about it that way. I never put myself in their shoes. So when I was in their shoes, and I swear all this stuff has happened in my life so I can learn about myself, so I can learn about people, so I can go through these challenges, so I can talk about them on this show later, or learn some personal growth lesson that I needed to learn. But when I was in that school, I was there for 2 weeks. And one day, I just started crying. I just sat in my chair and I started crying, and I went up to my teacher and she was like, what's wrong? What's wrong? Are you okay? Super sweet teacher. I said, I don't know. I just can't stop crying. I just can't stop. All right, well, go see the principal and, take care of yourself. I forget what she said. And I left, everyone watching me, I left class crying. And I went to the principal's office and he sat me down and I'm like, I don't know why. I'm sad. I don't know why I'm crying. But the reason was because I was scared. I didn't know anyone in this school. No one. It was a brand new school, a brand new town. I was living with my dad at the time, and I didn't know anyone. I was so scared. And it wasn't, when I went to a mostly white school, I could at least kind of relate to people. But I didn't know anyone at this school, and they were mostly African American. And I was never brought up in a way to look at anyone differently. I was never told that this race doesn't pay their taxes, and this race has more crime, and this race has, more psychopaths. I was never brought up with all these little things that we might hear nowadays. So I never thought badly or better about one race or another. But it was a shock because I was never exposed to this at all. Have you ever felt what it's like to be in a new school and you don't know anyone? And then on top of that, you feel like you can't relate to anyone? The bottom line is we're all human and we all have different skin color and we all have different hair. We all have different toes. We all have different eyes. But we all pretty much have the same parts. We're all pretty much born with the things that human beings are born with. Some of us aren't, some of us are, but you get the idea. Most of us are born with the same stuff. We're just different colors and different shapes and different sizes. But as a kid, I didn't understand this because no one was there to tell me that that's perfectly normal. No one was there to tell me how normal it was to be different. No one told me that it was okay to be different. So, when I moved to North Carolina, I wasn't told it was okay to be different. So I tried to talk like them. I tried to act like them. Then I felt like I fit in because I complied. I became like you ever heard the word sheeple? Like if the sheep are running towards a cliff, if the first sheep falls off, then the second one's going to go, and then the third one, and then all the sheep will just fall off the cliff because they're just following the one in front of them. It becomes that cliquey mentality where everyone's like everyone else. And I didn't know it was okay to not be like everyone else. I didn't know that. And here I am in 5th or 6th grade in this school full of strangers, and I feel like I am the oddball. I am the weird one. I am different. And I cried. I didn't know what to do because nobody told me that it's okay to be different. I'm telling you now, it is fantastic to be different. It is wonderful to be an individual. It is something that you want to keep with you for the rest of your life, to be unique. This is who you are. This is how you show up in the world as you. This is how people know you because you're showing up as yourself. You're not trying to be like anyone else. You're trying to be the best version of you. If I had known that when I was in that school, I would have walked proudly through the hallways. Yep, I'm me. Take a look. I'm me. I'm unique. And what's funny is that no one ever bothered me there. There was no problem. All the kids were nice to me. Maybe a couple weren't. But there's always a couple, But for the most part, my uniqueness didn't bother them. I was unique. I just didn't want to accept it in myself. And that's what I want you to do. I want you to accept your uniqueness. I had a letter from someone who wanted to hurt themselves. In fact, let me be honest with you. They wanted to kill themselves. And, this is something that a lot of people around you won't talk about unless they're other kids. But this kid wanted to kill herself. She was ready to go. And I didn't want that. I didn't want her to kill herself. And I was thinking, wow, why? Okay. I didn't tell her, no, don't kill yourself. I didn't freak out. I just said, wow, why do you want to kill yourself? And she says, I have a lot of pain. I don't want to deal with life anymore. I'm ready to go. She was 14. Didn't want to deal with life. Because there was something that she was struggling with inside herself that she chose not to express to anyone because she didn't feel safe. Remember how we were talking about earlier? Find someone to feel safe with? Because there's a lot of crap that you go through as a kid. There's a lot of stuff that you're learning about yourself that maybe you find out that other kids don't like about you. I mean, what do you do with that? And if you're having a hard time being around other kids because they won't accept you or not like you, then how do you relate to anyone? And that's where this kid was. I called her Sam. I read her letter on the air probably a few months ago. And she was very matter-of-factly saying, you know what, this is it. It's over for me. And so I wrote to Sam. And I thanked her for expressing herself to me. I was so grateful that she took the time to write out a really long email about everything that was going on in her life and some of the pain that she was experiencing, and she didn't know where it came from. And that can happen. You can have pain, sadness, anger, have all this stuff. You don't know where it comes from. So it's important to get this out of you, because when you don't, it stays in there and you don't know what to do. And then you start getting thoughts that you really don't want to have, because you're going to get to a point where you're past these thoughts that you don't want to have, like hurting yourself or cutting yourself, or even worse than that. You don't want to get to that point. You want to find someone safe, or you want to start writing out how you feel and get it out of your system in some way. Because if you don't, then it builds up and it gets worse and worse when it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to get worse. It does get better when you start expressing and releasing. It does get better. But like I said, Sam said that she was ready to go. And I definitely didn't want that. You know, I care about Sam, just like I care about you. I want you to stick around. I want you to be healthy and happy, or at least as happy as you can be. But at the same time, I don't want to tell you what to do. I don't want to tell you how to live your life. You get enough people in your life doing that for you. I'm just here to hopefully relate to you and connect with you in some way, because I want the best for you. And I know that you have some amazing talents that you're going to bring into the world. When you go out into the world and start creating a lot of things for yourself, even now you're probably creating things that are just amazing. I want you to amplify that and really utilize the talents that you have. You know, and Sam, you know, she wrote to me and said all this stuff I just told you, that she's ready to go. And so I wrote back and said, okay, you know, I've been there. There was a point in time that I wanted to kill myself too. I told her the truth. And in fact, I was so open and honest with her that I think she didn't understand why I was being so vulnerable with her, why I was expressing myself to her. She didn't expect the response that she got from me, because she's probably used to people telling her, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Get some help. Go see a therapist. I'm not saying that's bad advice, but that's the kind of reactions we usually get when we tell somebody that we're feeling bad and we want to hurt ourselves. Or if you don't want to hurt yourself, you just want to hide away for a few weeks and talk to no one. I get that. I've been in these dark places, but it had gotten too much for Sam. And, you know, she was, like she said, she was ready. And like I said, I wrote back and she wrote back to me, and we just had a nice conversation. I didn't tell her what she had to do. I didn't tell her what she should do. You know, of course I said, hey, if you're really serious, at least call this number. And I gave her the number to the suicide hotline. But then I just had this normal conversation with her. And like I said, this was maybe about 6 months ago now. I still hear from Sam. And she has come to some realizations about herself. Things that maybe some people won't accept about her. And I won't reveal what she figured out about herself, but she revealed things to me. She trusted me with information that she figured out about herself. And sometimes there's a way of being that other people aren't. And what I mean by that is that sometimes you like things that other people don't like. Sometimes you appreciate things about life that other people don't appreciate. Sometimes you have a perspective of life that no one else shares. And that can be hard, because who is there to support you? Well, here's the thing with that, is that when you have a unique perspective of life, when there are things that you like in life that maybe other people don't, and you feel alone, you're not alone. First of all, I support you. No matter what you like, no matter who you are, no matter what road you take in life, I support you. I am so supportive of you because you are amazing, and you have such an unlimited potential in what you can do in your life. You have the world at your fingertips. You're still young. You're still at a point where life hasn't come at you and dragged you down, because you're making life happen now. You're creating the life you want right now by doing the things that I talk about in this show every week, by honoring yourself, no matter who you turn out to be. Now, there's a lot of things I'm not saying here, because there's a lot of things I don't have to say, because only you understand yourself. Only you know yourself so well that you're either going to be proud of who you are and what you do in life, or you're going to let other people dictate who you are and what you do in life. And now this is where some of the parents may disagree with me. I want my kid to play piano, and I'm going to force my kid to take piano lessons because that's what I want for them. I'm not going to argue. If you have specific plans for your kids to shape them into the people that will bring the best out of them, great. I won't argue with that. But I will say, listen to them and listen to what their passions are and their goals and their dreams are for themselves. And listen especially with an open heart, because sometimes they're going to tell you things that you don't agree with. Sometimes they're going to say things that might be against your beliefs, your values. Sometimes they're going to say things that you don't accept at all. And when that happens, what are you going to do? And now I'm speaking directly to the parents. What are you going to do when they give you that one piece of information that you just can't bear? You can't take it. It's too much. It's not part of your reality. What are you going to do? Are you going to open your heart and say, you know what? I don't really agree with that, but I'm here for you and I will support your decision, whatever you want to do. I don't agree with it now, but I'm willing to open my heart and try to find ways to support you. I mean, can you get to that place with that open heart? Because I tell you what, if you don't, is it worth losing them over it? Is it worth them going into a depression and maybe doing something that you don't want because you can't get past your own beliefs, your own values, your own morals, your own ethics? What if they're doing things that you totally disagree with? And I'm not saying dangerous things. Like if they're taking drugs and they're getting involved with the wrong people, maybe you have to step in. I'm not here to dictate that either. But maybe there's something that you need to do. But still, even with that, you come at them with an open heart, saying, you know what? You're with the wrong people. But I'm not here to tell you not to be with them. I just want to let you know that if you want to talk about it, I'm here. Now that's powerful. If you can get to that place inside of yourself where you can be there for them, it gives them a chance to make some mistakes and feel that empowerment that you can only feel after making your own mistakes, and then knowing they can come to you. Because guess what? If they can't come to you and they get into trouble, who are they going to go to? I mean, think about that. Who else is left? And if it's a bad peer group that they're in with negative influences and maybe drugs and alcohol and more, are they going to go to someone else in their peer group? And are their friends going to say, oh, if you feel bad, just take this? This is why it's so important as a parent to have an open heart and just put aside your own beliefs and your own values for a little while to support someone. I mean, maybe they're in line with your beliefs and values and you do support them, which is phenomenal. But it does take a huge, huge open heart. And this is all unconditional love. I mean, you want to be loved, right? You want to feel that unconditional love of someone that is there to support you when you need them. That you can tell them, oh, I made a mistake. All right, tell me about it. What's the mistake? Well, I did this and I did this, and now I'm this. You know, whatever their story is. But you're hearing it for the first time and you're going, oh no, oh no, oh no. And it gets worse and worse. But where do you go? Do you Do you go your own defenses, going, this can't be my kid, and then you start yelling at your kid? Or do you go, wow, I can tell my kid really feels bad about this. I can tell my kid is in a place where he or she needs my support right now. And, as a kid listening right now, I want that for you. I want you to be in a place where you can share the deepest, darkest secrets that you have with someone that you trust. It's sort of the theme of this episode, to be able to express yourself, because that leads to empowering decisions. And that means that you feel confident inside of you with the steps that you're taking in life. I know someone really close to me that started off life as a girl and decided to become a boy. Now, no matter what you think, if maybe you laughed, maybe you didn't. Maybe you cringed, maybe you didn't. No matter what you think, when I heard that news, I was elated. I was so happy to hear it, because that told me that she had a conflict inside of her that whole time, which is probably why she had some of the challenges that she had in life. But to figure that out in herself, that, wow, I would rather be a boy. Made me so proud of her, which is now him, that I just felt a relief for him. I felt like he must be relieved now, because he had this conflict inside of him all that time. And there are all kinds of things that kids can tell you that you may not be prepared for. And when I heard that, I wasn't prepared for it. But at the same time, what do I really want for that kid? What do I really want for that person? Do I want them to want what I want? No, I don't want them to want what I want. I want them to want what they want. Do you want your kids to only have the values, the beliefs, the ideas, the perceptions of the world that you have? I'm not saying it's good or bad, because you may have the best of all worlds in your belief system, your values, everything. But do you want them to have exactly what you have so that you're comfortable with them? Or is your heart open enough to hear things that might come out of their mouth that might be a lot different than you expect? And even when you're surprised, can you come back to a place where you can open that heart and go, all right, that threw me off. What you just said was a total shock to me, and I got angry, I got sad, and I felt like I maybe failed you in some way, and I went through all this stuff. But now I'm back, and I'm ready to listen to you. I apologize for how I reacted, and I want to give you a safe place to express yourself, and now I'm ready. Sure, if you can get to that place, even better. So I guess we can call this segment, Be Yourself, no matter what. And sometimes the people around you are going to fully support you, and sometimes they're not. But that's okay, because there's always somebody else out there that will. You know I will, and there's always somebody else that will as well, especially if you can find people that are in a similar situation as you. If you find someone that feels the same way you do, then you have something alike, something you can relate to. Let's end this segment and finish the show with our last segment coming up. I'll wrap things up, we'll say our goodbyes, and we'll take it from there. Be right back. When I was in the 3rd grade, I was chased during recess by these girls who were trying to pull my pants down. They were laughing and they were mean. And I was running away as fast as I could. And there were like 3 or 4 of them. And I don't even know why they were trying to pull my pants down. Maybe they were trying to embarrass me. I don't remember, but they were trying to do it. And then when they finally caught up to me, I held on to those pants so tight they could not get them down. Thankfully. But boy, that was humiliating. That was extremely humiliating. I mean, not only was it humiliating and embarrassing, it was also a pivotal moment in my life where I realized I had a hard time defending myself. I mean, I didn't realize it at the time. It took a while to realize this, but I realized that I couldn't stand up for myself. So what does that mean? I can't stand up for myself. That means that later on in life, when anyone would pick on me, I would let them. I would take it. I would swallow my anger. I would swallow my sadness. And I would never express myself to any adults around me. I just wouldn't do it. I just felt like I was alone. So I had experiences like this. Like in 4th grade, there was a girl named Buffy. And wouldn't it be funny if Buffy was listening right now? But she hated me. I don't know why, but she hated me. And I couldn't tell you why she hated me. She just, everything she said was mean. I think she even said, "I hate you." And at the time, I was scared. I was like, oh my God, what's this girl going to do to me? She hates me. I don't even know why she hates me. But she did. She hated my guts. At least that's what I felt. And that's what she showed. And this is going to happen too. When we have other people in our life, some people are going to hate us for no reason sometimes. Some people will love us, and some people will be like, don't care about us either way. But boy, when they hate us, it's like, oh, why do you hate me? What did I do? People who hate, and people who say mean things, and people who just aren't very nice, come from a place of pain. They have pain inside of them. Like I said earlier, we're not born mean. We're not born hating. But we learn behavior from people around us. We learn how they respond, and so we figure out how to respond in the world from them. So this girl, Buffy, hated me. And how can I be compassionate towards someone that hates me? Again, I was only in 4th grade at the time, so I didn't even know what compassion was. And if you don't know what compassion is, it's basically, how can you sympathize for someone else? How can you even like someone else or feel sorry for someone else? That's sort of compassionate. Oh, I feel sorry for that person. But that's what you do. That's exactly what you do when someone's not nice, is you feel sorry for them. I mean, you don't say it to their face. It might incite something from them. You don't want that, but you just feel sorry inside of you, going, wow, what is going on in that person's life that's so hard that they have to be mean to me? What is going on in their life that maybe they're experiencing what they're doing to me? I mean, think about that. I think about this girl, Buffy, in the 4th grade, and remember how much she hated me, and remember how awful the things that she was saying to me. And now I wonder, what person in her life was saying mean things or hateful things to her? I mean, think about that. It still doesn't take away the emotions that you might feel, but it helps you develop compassion for someone else, even when they're being mean. Because I can imagine that she went home to someone that really treated her bad. Because we're not born that way, remember? We're not born mean. So someone in our life must make us that way. That doesn't mean we don't choose to be that way. Like, have you ever been mean to someone? Have you ever said something that made someone feel bad? I know I did. I used to make fun of kids in my school. And, they were the ones that always got made fun of. So it was easy for me to make fun of the people that always got made fun of, because everyone else was doing it. But then I grew up and I felt so bad for some of the names I called kids, for some of the things that I did to those kids. Boy, I felt so bad because their life was already hard. They were already getting picked on by other people. Why couldn't I have been the one to stand in front of them while the kids were picking on them and say, back off. Don't pick on him. He's my friend. Don't pick on her. She's my friend. Why couldn't I have done that? I wish I did. I wish I had it in me to do that. I'm not saying that's what you're going to do. I'm not saying you have to do that. All I'm saying is that when you come from a place of compassion for someone, then you just treat them differently. And you develop compassion by looking at them and going, wow, who in their life treats them like they're treating other people? If they're mean to me, who is being mean to them? Because they had to learn it somewhere. And I want to leave you with that, because that is the most powerful realization you can have. Even with adult people. There are adults in the world, they're just mean. I want to call them a name. They're so mean. But I'm not going to do that because I have compassion for a lot of people. Some people I don't have compassion for, I will admit. But, I have a right. But, that's okay. Because it's not like I'm mean to them. I just don't feel for them one way or the other. They're not significant in my life, and they don't need to be in my life. So some people I just dismiss. That's okay. You go on your way. I'll go on mine. I don't need you in my life. You don't need me. But there are some people who I do have compassion for, because I know that in order to do what they do and in order to say what they say, it must have been done to them. It must have been said to them. And yes, we do have a choice on how we respond to the world and how we behave in the world. So you still have to take responsibility for how you behave. But some people aren't aware of that. Some people don't realize they do have a choice, because the only thing they know is that they respond the way they do because that's how they learned how to respond. So take that with you. Look at the people that make your life hard and realize that they probably have it pretty hard too. Wow. I know that's hard to do, especially when they're picking on you and calling you names and doing things that are just, it feels downright evil. Why are you doing this to me? But if you can step inside yourself and go, wow, who is treating them like that? And really feel sorry for them. Even if they keep coming at you, I just feel sorry. That helps you develop compassion. It doesn't mean you have to keep them in your life. It doesn't mean that you have to hang around with them. But who knows? Maybe you'll say something to them in a compassionate way that makes them not pick on you anymore, that makes them like you. I mean, you don't need to be liked. I know you want to be, but I want you to be unique, and some people aren't going to like your uniqueness. I'm sorry to say. It's just the way it is. We're going to be unique in this world. Some people aren't going to like it, and other people are going to love it. Because when you are the best you can be, then you're going to shine. And that's the best way to shine, is to be the best you can be. Whatever that means. Just be your authentic self. That's what I want for you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks for listening to this kids-only episode of The Overwhelmed Brain. I appreciate you, and I hope we can do this sometime in the future once again. We'll talk soon. Thank you for listening to another episode of The Overwhelmed Brain. All the stuff I normally say at this time, I'm not going to do it. Because I'm unique, I'm authentic, and I'm showing up in the world the way I want to show up. And in this episode, I'm not going to say the things that I normally say. I will say, thank you for listening. And thank you for giving me an opportunity to create an episode like this. If you're not a kid and you were listening, thank you for listening the whole way through. I mean, in fact, this episode was not only for the kids, because my kid connects with your kid in you. Because we all have a kid in us. Even if you're a kid, you still have a kid in you. It comes out to play every now and then. And it cries, and it gets angry, and it does all sorts of things that lets us remember that he or she is still there. So how do we take care of that kid inside of us? We honor him or her. We let them express him or herself. We let them out to be authentic in this world. We let them be as amazing as we know they are. That kid inside of you is wonderful and should be nurtured and honored and embraced. And if the kid's afraid to come out, then keep listening to this show and know that this is a safe place to let that kid in you be free. And maybe someday when one of these episodes is over, that kid will stay free and feel safe in the world and open his or her mind and step into their power so that you can be firm in your decisions and actions. And that will help you create the life you want. Always take steps to grow and evolve. You know, you're powerful beyond measure. And above all, and this is something I absolutely know to be true about you, you are amazing.